again, these are extraordinary times with the pandemic. So what they had to do from March on was recruit this class virtually with online visits and online and FaceTime conversations. And it was that just requires a lot of trust that what we're telling you and what we're showing you is the real thing. And there were several cases of guys who never made an official or unofficial visit even to Ohio State. Maybe they came by on their own. There was a weekend that some of the recruits put together their own visit, basically, and maybe toured the campus on their own and watched a game on television together or that type of thing. So to me, that's the extraordinary thing about it, is that in this backdrop, they've always had top 10, top 5 classes when everybody was doing it the quote conventional way. But now you had this backdrop against which you had to make some extraordinary accommodations to get this done. And they're still number 1, number 2, whatever the number is going to shake out. I think ultimately, if they're able to add the player from Washington, JT Tuimoloau, or however it's pronounced, Tuimoloau, defensive lineman from Washington, national top 10 prospect. I don't have it written down. That could swing them the number 1 class. He may not sign now till February, though. So a couple other guys that are kind of still trending out there, kind of looking around. But he's kind of the big fish that's still out there. And they got a lot of big fish in this class anyway. 12 of the national top 100. The rest of the Big Ten got 8. So as I tweeted out, my line from the Truman Show, more Big Ten lopsided games coming straight ahead. So there you go.
We want to make a programming announcement. This is a late change update that following this hour, we'll be doing a full hour on the 2022 class with Kevin New. All right, Kevin, rewind back to 2021. What you got for us?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great class, and the Rivals.com rankings, Ohio State's number 2. Alabama had a couple of flips in a little back and forth that they had going with LSU that expanded their lead. As Steve had mentioned, if Ohio State's able to go into Washington State and land a talented defensive lineman, that I'm not going to offend any of our Polynesian viewers by tripping over his name. Another name to keep an eye on is linebacker Rajon Davis, who's out of Mater Dei, out of Southern California, who's committed to LSU. Ohio State's still in on him at this point, as he's not signed yet. But, this class really checks off all the boxes. And, we can get into waving our corporate banners, whether it be Rivals or 24/7 or anybody else that does rankings. But when Ryan Day was asked about it yesterday on his call, he said that this was the best possible class for Ohio State. And ultimately, those are the rankings that matter. Do classes work out 100%? No, they don't. I mean, and that's what the transfer portal's for and things along those natures. But this class is really good for Ohio State. I mean, really strong from top to bottom. Checks off a lot of boxes. I mean, we could really kind of get in and say, oh, it would be great if they had another offensive lineman. If Tristan Lee out of Fairfax, Virginia, looks like he's probably going to Oklahoma, LSU, and Florida are in there too. Ohio State's not been eliminated yet. But I think they're just a hat on the table with him. They're positions that we could really kind of get into a little bit of a discussion about. That'd be great if they had another body. But when you look at bringing in another top quarterback, having another great receiver class with the late announcement and addition of Emeka Egbuka, a couple of running backs, some linebackers, some defensive backs. They really checked off everything that they needed to, and a stellar class for Ryan Day and Mark Pantoni and the rest of the staff.
And I'll just throw a couple things out here. I know a lot of people expected, or Buckeye fans thought this would end up being the top class in the nation based on all of the 5 stars they were getting and just the way things were going. And of course, 24/7 Rivals, they love to throw up, boost up those Alabama commits, you guys, even Kevin.
Bama bump.
Get that Bama bump and then drop Ohio State commits, Steve and Kevin. So just, I think Ohio State's class is pretty good. I know Rivals and 24/7 don't like them for whatever reason, Steve and Kevin. But It was interesting talking to Ryan Day on Wednesday about exhibiting, like showing the culture of Ohio State when players can't visit, and how they have to basically do it through like group texts from the commits, and they do a lot of the work for the coaches. And it was impressive to be able to land Travion Henderson and Evan Pryor, two of the top running backs in the nation. Henderson maybe the top running back in the nation. And the fact that those two became really close friends in those texts. They play Madden all the time together. They want to play together. And I think it's anytime you can get two of the top running backs in the nation to come in wanting to work together and compete against each other and make each other better, that's pretty interesting. It's a testament to the way they were recruited. As Ohio State running backs coach Tony Alford told everyone from the outset, we're taking two, and they were okay with that. Evan Pryor, okay coming in with the number one running back in the nation, and number one running back coming in okay sharing with the possibility of sharing carries. And so it's a positive move towards them fitting into the culture, which is also Ryan Day said a lot, as Kevin alluded to. It's about finding the best players that fit the Ohio State culture. And I think he said, first, they have to be talented enough to play at Ohio State. Then second, they have to fit. And it's good when the really talented players then fit that culture.
Steve mentioned off the top the ability for Ohio State to adjust virtually. Now, everybody's had to do that across the country. You would think, in a sense, that Ohio State would be, there's a disadvantage for everyone. Now, to what degree, it would vary to a certain extent, but it's basically a level playing field of barriers because of the inability to build relationships face to face. But you would think Ohio State would benefit from brand, popularity, all those things, in just throwing out the name Ohio State. And if there's a tie to be broken, that it might lean their way because of that. But going back to the virtual side of things, we're talking about a bunch of football coaches. This isn't their expertise. Just to be able to, they must have brought in some other people to. Is there any insight into what Ryan Day revealed in terms of why they were so good in this environment to recruit?
Well, I'll start. It's not just the coaches that are doing this. It's Mark Pantoni, the director of recruiting, in his department, that you don't even see all of the social media guys, the scouting guys, the video people who put stuff together that are able to catch the eye and build a brand, because that was something that we talked to Pantoni as well yesterday. And he was saying what you're saying, Mark, like the brand of Ohio State does a lot of the work. And certainly it's not like recruits are unaware of Ohio State if they can't visit. They know all about it. It's just they can't actually step foot in Ohio Stadium during a game or on campus with the coaches and stuff like that. But the brand is there. And that's not just the coaches that you see. It's the guys you don't see that, live in the Woody Hayes Athletic Center 24/7 almost.
Yeah, Ohio State's done a great job with its creative team in terms of videos and graphics and everything else. It's all of it. You know what? You can have the Brian Hartlines and the Tony Alfords and obviously the Ryan Days of the world say all the right things and get on the Zoom calls and do the tours and whatnot. But, part of Ohio State's very proud of talking about the amount of impressions they get in terms of socials and things along those lines. So I think you're going to see a lot of lessons that are going to carry forward from this 2020, year of 2020, but class of 2021, moving forward in future classes, because, Ryan Day did kind of mention something along the lines of, things that you're able to do in lieu of maybe some of these unofficial visits or whatever. And it is getting tougher and tougher at times for when you have such a wide recruiting footprint. And Ohio State may make its bones in Ohio and within a 3-hour footprint or anything like that. But Ohio State recruits nationally. So it's not easy for these West Coast guys or even guys from Texas sometimes to play a game on Friday, jump on a plane on their own dime, come out to Ohio State for, to watch a game and eat pizza, which is essentially an unofficial visit. So I think that Ohio State and some of your haves in terms of the recruiting world learned a lot of lessons, and I think it's going to further divide what's going on between this small group of haves and everybody else until everybody else hires away at least, the number twos in these departments to show them the path of how to do that. And then they're still at a disadvantage because they are not selling Ohio State or Alabama or UGA or some of these types of